Greetings. Today we'll be discussing about generative AI and copyright. Our team members is Abbas, which is me, Asinta, Jagat, Manoj, and Prashana. So today we'll be introducing the topic of generative AI and helping us understand what it is and how it really works. Generative AI is one of the most talked technologies in the world right now. Um, it is transforming how we write, design, communicate, and even create art. Um, but before we discuss its impact or legal issues, it's important that we understand the basics, what generative AI is actually, and how it works under the hood. So, in the introduction, I'll briefly explain what generative AI means, how it learns, why it appears intelligent, and why it matters in our world today. So, let's begin with the basics. What is generative AI? Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new content. This includes things like writing text, generating images, composing music, creating videos, and even writing computer codes. Tools such as ChatGPT, DALL-E, Midjourney, Bard, and other are all forms of generative AI. So now let's talk how does generative AI work. Let's understand it on a deep perspective. These systems learn by being trained on large amount of data collected from the internet, books, articles, images, code, and more. Instead of memorizing data, the AI studies it and learns the pattern, structures, and relationships within it. For example, if it reads millions of sentences, it learns how languages works. If it analyzes millions of photos, it learns how objects and style look. If it reads software codes, it learns how to write programs. Using these patterns, the AI can then generate new content that looks original. Why does generative AI seem intelligent? Generative AI is not cautious or alive, but it appears intelligent because it can understand contexts, predict what should come next, adapt its answers, and imitate human creativity. It does this using deep learning models, mathematical systems inspired by how the human brain forms connections. Why is generative AI important today? Generative AI matters because it is already changing how people work, learn, communicate, create content, solve problems. It makes tasks faster, supports creativity, and opens new possibilities in many industries, from education to healthcare to entertainment.
Hello everyone, my name is Asinta and I will talk about the European Union legal approach to generative AI and copyrights. So first, the EU has a right-based approach. That means they want AI to grow, but they also want to protect people by their rights, their privacy and their creative work. On this slide, I focus on the EU AI Act and how it links with GDPR. So the EU AI Act is one of the uh, first big AI laws in the world. It groups AI system by risk according to low, medium, and high level. And the generative AI models like chatbots and image generators are seen as powerful and higher risks, so they have extra rules. A key idea is transparency. It has three things. Uh, AI must give information about the training data, say if they use copyrighted content, and last, try to respect copyright and opt out from creators. The goal is to stop AI training from being a black box, and creators should not feel that their work is taken and used secretly. The AI Act also connects with GDPR, which is the EU's main privacy law. GDPR says that personal data must be used with consent and for a clear purpose. So together, the AI Act and GDPR say Companies should not just grab people's data or creative work and use it for AI training without people legal basis. In simple words, you can build cool AI tools, but you must respect people's right and privacy. Now I will move to my second slide, which looks at EU copyright and database rights and how they affect AI training. Uh, so even before the AI Acts, the EU already had strong copyright issues. There are like two important ones that are the Copyright Directive 2019 and Database Directive 1996. So first, the Copyright Directive talks about text and data mining or TDM. TDM means using software to scan and analyze lots of content, for example, for research or AI training. The directive allows TDM, but with some conditions, like research organization can do TDM for scientific research, and for commercial use, companies can do TDM only if the creator has not opted out. So this opted out is very important. It gives creators the chance to say, like, I don't want my work used for AI trading or text and data mining. If they clearly opt out, AI developers should not use that content. Next is database directive that's protect people or companies who invest a lot building a large databases. For example, big image libraries, music catalogs, or scientific data sets. Others cannot simply copy a large part of those bases for AI training without permission. If they do, they might break database rights. A good example is Getty Images versus Stability AI. Getty Images says that Stability AI use millions of photos to train an image model without a license. They argue this breaks both copyright and database rights. Uh, so this shows how EU laws can be used challenge unlicensed AI training and push companies to be more careful and transparent. So from here, Jagat will continue.
Hi everyone, I'm Jagat, and my part of presentation looks at how the US deals with the generative AI and the copyright. So let's compare it to the EU and the US takes much more flexible and cash-driven approach. There is no single AI act like in Europe. Instead, the US mostly reuses existing copyright law and especially the idea of fair value and to decide whether training AI models on copyright material is allowed. This gives a lot of room for innovation, but it also means there is a lot of uncertainty because every big dispute ends up being in the court or being argued in the court. In US, fair use is basically a safety value. Let's say sometimes you can use copyright material without permission if certain conditions are met. Court looks at four main factors. So let's say firstly, the purpose and the character of the use. So, is it commercial or non-profit? Is it transformative? Does it add new meaning or functions? Second is nature of work. So, is it more factual or highly creative? Thirdly, it should be like almost amount used. How much of the work is taken and is it the heart of the work? And lastly, effect on the market. Does this new use hurt the market for the original? No one knows. Uh, so the AI company usually argues that the training their models meet these conditions because the purpose is different. So they say the system is not there to republish books or images or one to one, but to learn patterns from there and then generate something new. So for the transformative use argument, so that's where the idea of transformative users become really important. So let's say AI developers says we're not just copying content, we are transformative, we are transforming it into something else. a statistical model that can handle language or images. So they often compare it to the past cases where code allows copying for search, indexing, or analysis. In those cases, copying was seen as fair use because the purpose was new and did not directly replace the original works. So, from the company's perspective, training a model on millions of images or document is like teaching any AI system, and the output is not meant to be simple duplicate of any single training example. So, next thing is transformative debates. So that brings us to the debate zone in the last part of this slide. Critics push back and say generative AI is not always as transformative as companies claim. So model can sometimes generate output that closely time mimics an artistic style, and when this output are often used in a commercial settings, they can compete directly with the original creators. So the question for the US courts is now, at what point does training or copyright on copyrighted material stop being transformative and start becoming infringement on or unfair competition? So right now the law doesn't give a clear yes or no. That's why so many of these questions are being tested through lawsuits, which leads us to the next slide. On this slide, we focus on how these issues are playing out in real cases. Because the US doesn't have an AI specific law, most of big disputes are happening through litigation. That means the judges have to apply old rules to the new technology, which can lead to inconsistent decisions and a lot of waiting before we really know where the line is. So, in the Anderson versus Stability AI, in this case, a group of artists sued AI companies like Stability AI. They argued their artwork has been used as training data without consent, and they claim generative images could imitate their personal style. So, this case highlights the fear that AI system might be built on the top of unpaid creative labor and then turn around and undercuts this same artist in the marketplace. And for the New York Times versus OpenAI, so this second big case is the where the New York Times claims its news article were used to train AI models without licenses, and that the same some models output came very close to the reproducing New York Times content. So this case is important because it is not just about the individual artist. It is about a major news organization arguing that AI could erode the value of quality journalism. So again, the court has to balance the benefit of powerful language models and against the risk of undermining professionals and news media. And the third is the US Copyright Office positions. So in 2023, the office clarifies that purely AI generated work where there is no meaningful human authorship cannot be copyright. So this raises another tricky issue. AI systems rely heavily on copyrighted work to train, and after that, but the resulting output may not have clear copyright protection of their own. So, and the responsibility for infringement is shared somewhere between developers, company, and end users. So, to sum up my slides, this UH approach relies heavily on fair use and the court decision instead of one clear AI law, and that gives companies more freedom to experiment. So, these cases will shape how far AI can go when training on copyrighted data. Next, Manoj will take step from the legal details and look at the ethical policies and the questions behind all this.
So now I'll be talking about the ethical policy and the consideration which is relates to the generative AI. So this part goes beyond the laws and court cases and focus on like what is the fair and responsible and acceptable when we come to AI uses the human created content. So the first major issue in the PPT we are telling about is lack of transparency. So like in most companies do not reveal what data they used for to train their models. So in their data sets, uh, they used to train the model and they treat it as the security and it's like a proprietary. So because of that, artists and writers and the music or else musicians have no idea if their work has been used in training or not. So this lack of transparency creates a big trust issues within the organization and all. So creators cannot check if their material was included or copied, and all the public cannot properly understand how AI system uh, generates the output. So ethical AI require the openness, which we need clear documentation in data set also, like disclosures or at least the system that allow creators to verify if their work is not being used. That's the lack of transparency we need. And the second issue, uh, that is biased and fairness. Like AI learned from the human data, and it contains human biases. Like if the training model has stereotypes or imbalanced representation, uh, that representations means like the AI will repeat and even amplify those biases. For example, like image we models we may favor in Western art styles, or the language models may misrepresent like certain cultures for group. For the ethical design, developers need to make sure that the data sets are diverse or inclusive and all the property reviewed. And if not, AI can unintentionally or like discriminate any color or racism like that. So reinforce not harmful pattern or all these things. That's what the bias and fairness will do. So and then the third ethical concern is which is accountability. As per the report, when AI something is harmful, like for example something it's what we'll say, uh, for example something is infringed, copyrighted or it's misinformation, so we still do not have a clear answer, like we who is the responsible for this one. So this is the person who created the AI or the company that deployed it. So whom do we need to do, or else the user who generated the output. Right now, the responsibility is unclear. To address this issue, many experts suggested that like a shared responsibility framework that were both developers and users have two obligations. So the goal is to ensure that our AI technology does not escape the accountability just because of it is a machine or like that. So our fourth one is the remuneration or like a compensation for the creators. So AI systems are trained to on a creative data set that includes the years of hard work of the writer, musician, photographers, all like a journalist who are working in other cultural foundation. So but they don't often receive any nothing in return for their work. So ethically this is the major concern. Many argue that this AI developers benefit commercially from the models trained on human creativity, then creators deserve some form of compensation. These ideas include collective licensing, and this solution could help balance the innovation and all the fairness under this. So, in the overall, the ethical and policy issue shows that our generative AI is not just a technical challenge; it is a human one. So, technology must evolve in a way that represent the consent. So technology must be evolved. So if companies and regulate they has to prioritize transparency and diversity, accountability, all these things, and they can develop in a way that benefits society without harming the creators. So in summary, for the ethical policy consideration, I would say it helps that ensure AI innovation stay aligned with the human rights and the cultural integrity. So without them, the technology risk being exploitatively being used for the info. So from now on, Prasanna will take over the slides from 9 and 10.
Now I'll talk about the compliance models and industry practices being developed to handle copyright issues in generative AI. So the first one is data disclosure. So one major problem is that we often don't know what data AI systems are trained on. The European Union is now requiring companies to be more transparent, and they must explain where their training data comes from and whether it includes copyrighted content. And this matters because creators deserve to know if their work is being properly used. Second one is opt-out and licensing options. So another important development is giving creators more control. Uh, Artists, writers, or photographers in general can choose to opt out of having their content used. Uh, or they can license it, meaning they allow AI companies to use their work in exchange for payment. It's similar to how artists get paid through platforms like Spotify or YouTube. The third one is third-party audits. Since AI companies often keep their systems private, some governments are pushing for independent audits. These audits can like a neutral referee, checking if AI models follow copyright and ethical rules. Also, this helps build trust and reduces the chances of illegal data use. Lastly, we have paying creators fairly or remuneration models. So there's a focus on fair compensations. Our AI companies benefit a lot from human-created content, but creators usually don't get paid. So a possible solution is a royalty or compensation funds that supports the creator who work was used in AI training. So overall, these compliant models try to create a fair balance so AI can keep improving, but not by ignoring or exploiting human creativity. Now I move on to the conclusion and reflection. Basically, generative AI is advancing quickly, but it raises concerns and questions about copyright, transparency, and fairness. Uh, in our project, we compared the European Union and US approaches. The European Union has a strict approach as they focus on protecting creators, making sure companies are transparent and holding them accountable. Basically, the downside is that it can slow down innovation because developers has to follow many rules. On the other hand, the US is more flexible as they use the fair use and rely on court cases to decide what's allowed. This helps tech companies innovate faster, but it also creates a lot of uncertainty, especially for artists and creators who want to protect their work. Um, Besides law, there are also important ethical questions as we focus on the ethical reflections. That is it fair to use someone's work to train AI without asking them? Also, like, should creators get paid? Or should AI companies be required to explain where they get their data from? So basically, in our research, we found that transparency, consent, and fair compensation are key ethical principles. Also, people want to trust AI, but trust only comes when companies are open and responsible. Basically, what we learned from this project is it helps us understand how law, ethics, and technology connect. AI isn't just a tech challenge, it's also a human one. Creator deserves respect, and society needs rules that support both fairness and innovation. Basically, to wrap up, then AI, generative AI has huge potential, but it also must grow in a responsible way with clear rules, transparency, and respect for human creativity. Thank you.